Alright, be the linguist of your dreams. By the way, meet Translation, the goddess of translation and interpreting, and she's going to be my muse for this amusing and amazing video, okay? But what does that mean, being the linguist of your dreams? It doesn't mean being the linguist of my dreams or me being the linguist of your dreams. I mean each one being the linguist of their dreams. So let me relate my day today, not because I'm necessarily being the ideal linguist, but I'm striving to be, and that's what's important. And also striving to be the ideal Vladimir. And actually the ideal Vladimir would probably learn to look at the camera, but one day, Rick, okay? One day. Someday. Someday is a day that never happens. All right, so the day started with a beautiful coffee at Nina's Cafe in St. Paul, driving by the Capitol and St. Paul Cathedral, then an immigration interview. It is very curious because it's in this exquisite, beautiful building, but the office is a little bit slovenly and very tight and narrow, you know? But that's not the point. The point is the interview went beautifully, splendidly, and we'll come back to it and see how that fits in and weaves into being the linguist of your dreams. All right, then another beautiful coffee at Nina's, giving a gift to the barista of my translated and original poetry. I hope that Translation is liking the video so far. I think she'll be with me in future videos too. But anyway, then sitting in the cold tub for 22 minutes, and yes, that also fits into being the linguist of your dreams. Then editing a book, actually just for fun, pro bono. Then getting hated on by a fellow interpreter. He's no fellow of mine. But that actually also fits into being the linguist of your dreams because I'm super happy that happened. And then recording this wonderful video for you, and then preparing several options for a presentation, translation presentation. So now let's go back to it and actually analyze each point. Yeah, so the interview. Actually the coffee. Why the coffee? Because anything that inspires you to perform better is worth it. It doesn't matter your favorite suit, your favorite coffee. Actually, I was dressed to the 9s, and that's probably why I interpreted to the 10s, or at least to the 9.5. You know, anything that inspires you, logical or not, sensible or not, do it. And whenever I interpret in St. Paul, I get a coffee at Nina's, which is about a mile away from the center, the government center. So yeah, I got a lot of compliments from the Russian-speaking American lawyer. But what is the point about that interview? We're not going to talk about so much linguistic aspects. That's in another video. I've done a video on immigration interviews before, and maybe I'll do one in the future. But the point is, I always, in every job, I strive to make myself proud and to impress myself. Not somebody else mainly, not the client, not the lawyer, not the immigration officer. If they're impressed, if I get compliments, great, but mainly myself. This made me think of, I was on a date once and I swam in a river, in the St. Croix River, and then the girl and I crossed the bridge and I said, I'm gonna swim back. And she said, Vladimir, you already impressed me by swimming. The water was like 50 degrees. You don't have to impress me. And I said, you don't understand. I have to impress myself. And that's what I'm actually trying to do in every job, on every job, is to take care with each little detail, because not only the devil, but the angel and the translator and the interpreter are in the details. Like, for example, if you've done immigration interviews, you know that there are monitors, right? Like interpreters who monitor the quality of your interpreting. And today I made some slight faux pas, some boo-boo, and before the monitor had a chance to say anything, and probably he wouldn't have even noticed, I was like, excuse me, the interpreter meant this, or the interpreter means to make a correction. You know, so that is how I keep up my professional pride, by doing the best I can do on every assignment and more. You know, if you can do more, why the heck not? And once again, I love people, I love helping people, but first and foremost for me. You know, I'm watching this wonderful chapter of Grant Cardone University called 100 Ways to Increase Motivation. Maybe it's improve motivation. One of the clips is go the extra mile. So not only literally can you run the extra mile, but go the extra mile in everything you do. So why not? Okay, next point about the coffee and the barista. I went back there and I gave her my poetry book. Why? She was a cool girl. I wasn't necessarily flirting with this girl, but she made my day and my coffee. You know, because it was a winter afternoon, snowy, flurries, and so on. And I said, you know, you made my day and my coffee, and here's a little gift for you. And she smiled. So what does that have to do with interpreting? Well, I think that interpreters are, almost said harbingers. No, harbingers. That's another point on interpreting, is know the connotations of words. Messengers. Messengers of kindness and understanding, right? It's not just about linguistic competence. So anytime that you can make somebody's day better or bring understanding to the world, why not, right, Translation? I think she silently agrees. Okay, moving on. The cold tub, and yes, that actually also fits in, because I've made clips about this before, and we've touched upon it in webinars and seminars and all kinds of nars and narnias. But mens sana in corpore sana, in a healthy body, a healthy mind. Obviously, like this body and any body, spelled separately, is physical. A house, a car, right? That houses our mind and spirit. So you have to keep it in good shape for the mind to be in good shape. This just made me think of this eerie book. It was called Professor Doyle's Brain by, wanted to say Bulgakov. No, it's by Alexander Belyaev, Russian Soviet sci-fi writer of the beginning of the 20th century. And I think this brain was in a jar, but still alive. It's kind of very, very eerie and spooky, but that doesn't necessarily contradict what I'm saying, because I don't think you want to be an interpreter in a jar hooked up to some artificial intelligence robot body. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this, but the point is, keep the body in shape, right? Because if you're a translator, especially an interpreter, then there are demands placed on this body. So I ran a bit, I swam a bit, but mainly today I sat in a cold tub for 22 minutes because I'm trying to see if I'm ready for the Alcatraz swim. Obviously, wetsuit free. Okay, and then I'm reading this book by a friend. It's about relationships. And you know me, I can't just read a book, I have to edit it. So I started editing it for him because, yes, it's good, but it can be better. So I wrote him about 75 comments so far. Probably write him about 10 more. And how does that weave into being the interpreter of your dreams? Because for one, there's this book, Once a Runner, Always a Runner. Well, once a linguist, always a linguist. I don't necessarily split up, okay, now I'm on the clock and now I'm off the clock. I was running once with a man I highly, highly admire. His name is Nicholas Romanov, and he's the founder of the pose method of running. I said, Nikolai Stepanovich, using the patronymic, and the immigration officer was calling it the patronym today. He was a really nice guy, though. But anyway, I said, Nikolai, can I ask you a question about running? He's like, why would you even ask? And I said, well, because the seminar is over. And he said, Vladimir, this is my life. Ask away. So, I don't necessarily separate being a linguist on the clock and not being a linguist off the clock. I'm always a linguist, just like I'm always an athlete. I'm always me. So, and it's also good just to do something for the love of the profession. Yeah. And then what else? Oh yeah, the hater. I'm super happy about having a hater, because that means I'm at least a local celebrity. Nobody is going to hate on a weak person or on a person that they don't care to somehow oppress or squash. I mean, I'm unoppressible and unsquashable, but I'm honestly flattered, because haters are just basically people who admit that they can't really produce something of value on their own. Well, maybe they can, but they think they can't. And so all they can produce is feast off the accomplishments of others and hate on them. And that's actually really good. I learned this principle of Grant Cardone, that the way to success lies through 1, massive action, 2, criticism, 3, haters, and 4, money, admiration, success, and so on. And sometimes the admiration comes from these very same haters. But anyway, what about being the ideal interpreter of your dreams? Linguist, not necessarily interpreter. What would it look like? So we had this whole webinar dedicated to it. I'm not going to repeat the webinar here, but to recap, I mean, definitely linguistic ability. I think definitely complete fluency in both or more languages. Definitely that mental link, right, between the two languages. So not just fluency, but that quick pathway, and how that's developed, that's a topic for another clip. But you want that quick channel, not a swamp, but swiftly flowing water between your two reservoirs of languages. I hope you like the metaphor. If you're an interpreter, then actually awesome communication skills. That's super important. The strive for perfection and always delivering the best possible linguistic rendition of whatever you're doing that you can. not for somebody else, but first and foremost for you. Like, I have a standard. When I send off a translation job, I should be super happy, super proud. Like, that pride is almost like a tangible asset when I send off that job. Same with interpretation. When I'm done with, if I don't feel proud of myself, like I achieved something in the assignment, then that means I didn't interpret to the best of my ability. And those days do happen, but they are few and far between. Yeah, what else? I also think just working for understanding, working for understanding among people and peoples, because that's originally the foundation of our profession. That's what our vocation, and it is a vocation. It's not just a job, is all about. Like, for example, that interpreter who is trying to hate on me, he probably doesn't understand that interpreters are messengers of understanding and peace. That's what we are, first and foremost. And we should be role models of that. What else? Well, obviously always striving to be your best self. Like, for example, right now I latched on like a hungry Vladimir onto 2 Russian Spanish natives that I found, and I hope that they can help me polish my Spanish. And one of them even said, like, from what I hear in your messages, Vladimir, it's impeccable. And I said, no, it's not impeccable. You will find blind spots, and I want it to be better because I want to pass the federal exam, but not for the federal exam. Again, first and foremost for me. So hopefully these are some good tips, and I hope that you can go through your day being the linguist and person of your dreams, and then write me about it. Right, Translation? I think she agrees, and I think I need to go to sleep. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.